The rain fell softly that morning, as though the heavens themselves were mourning. Black umbrellas dotted the small cemetery like shadows against the gray sky. The little girl, barely 11 years old, clutched the single flower she had brought. Her tiny hands trembled, and her eyes were swollen from crying all night. Her father's casket was being lowered into the earth, and with it, her entire world seemed to vanish. He had been her everything: protector, teacher, her safe place in a world that had already shown her far too much cruelty. Now he was gone. Beside her, the woman who was now legally her stepmother stood stiff, her face unreadable. There were no tears in her eyes, no softness in her heart. She had married the girl's father only 2 years ago, and from the beginning, the girl had felt the coldness in her voice, the sharpness in her gaze. Her father, blinded by love or perhaps loneliness, never noticed how unkind his new wife could be. But now he was gone, and the little girl knew that nothing would ever be the same again. When the last word of the funeral was spoken, the mourners slowly drifted away. Some gave the girl a sad smile, some patted her head, but no one stayed. Soon, only the girl, her stepmother, and the men covering the grave with earth remained. The girl knelt by the mound of soil, whispering words no one else could hear. "I'll be strong, Daddy, I promise. But please don't leave me alone." The stepmother's heels clicked sharply against the wet ground as she approached. Her lips were pressed tight, and her eyes carried no warmth. "Come along," she said curtly. "There's no point in sitting here. What's done is done." The girl looked up, her cheeks streaked with tears. She wanted to scream, to say her father wasn't just done, that his love would never vanish like that. But her voice failed her. Quietly, she stood and followed, her heart heavy with dread. Back at the house, the atmosphere was even colder. The curtains were drawn, the lights dim, and silence hung heavy in every room. The girl's father had once filled these halls with laughter, with music, with stories he read to her before bed. Now, the walls seemed to echo with emptiness. She wandered to her father's study, only to find her stepmother already there, rummaging through his things with a strange urgency. "These belong to me now," the woman said without looking up, stuffing papers and small valuables into a box. The girl's stomach twisted. She knew none of it truly belonged to her stepmother, not in spirit. They were pieces of her father's life, his memories, but she was powerless to stop it. That night, the girl curled into her small bed, hugging the pillow as if it could bring her father back. She cried silently, wishing she could hear his voice once more, wishing she could wake up from this nightmare. Days turned into a week, and the cruelty of her stepmother began to show more clearly. She criticized the girl for the smallest things, denied her meals if she was late to the table, and locked away her father's belongings so she couldn't even touch a photo frame without permission. But the final blow came one evening, when the stepmother called her into the living room. The woman sat with folded arms, her expression sharp. "I've decided," she said coldly. "You can't stay here anymore. I have no obligation to raise you. You're not my child. This is my house now, and I won't waste my life caring for someone else's burden." The girl froze, her heart pounding. "But this was my home. Daddy wanted me here. He promised. Your father is gone." The stepmother snapped, cutting her off. "And promises die with him. Pack your things. You're leaving tomorrow." The words struck the girl like thunder. She couldn't breathe. Her world shattered again, even deeper this time. She stumbled back to her room, her chest aching, her small hands clutching the edge of the bed for support. She looked at the only photo of her and her father together, a summer day at the park, both smiling so brightly, and sobbed until her voice gave out. The next morning, true to her word, the stepmother forced the girl out of the house. With a small bag of clothes and the photo of her father tucked inside, she stood outside on the street, shivering though the sun was high. Neighbors watched from their windows, whispering but doing nothing. To them, she was just an unfortunate child, and they didn't want to interfere. The girl began to walk, her shoes scraping the pavement, her eyes blurred with tears. She had no plan, no destination. All she knew was that she had nowhere to belong. She walked for hours, past busy streets, past families laughing together, past parks where other children played freely. Each sight was a knife to her heart, a reminder of what she had lost. As the sun began to set, she sat on a bench, clutching her bag tightly. Hunger gnawed at her stomach, but the pain inside was far worse. She whispered to herself again the same words she had said at the grave, "I'll be strong, Daddy. I'll try, but I don't know how." It was then that a sleek black car slowed to a stop nearby. Its windows were tinted, its body gleamed, and it looked out of place in the quiet street. The door opened and a tall man in a dark suit stepped out. His presence was commanding, but his eyes, when they landed on the little girl, softened instantly. He walked toward her slowly, not wanting to startle her. "Hey," he said gently, his voice calm yet strong. "Are you all right?" The girl looked up, startled. She shook her head quickly, wiping at her eyes with the back of her hand. She didn't answer. The man crouched down to her level. "You've been crying. You look like you've been through a lot." He paused, studying her closely. Something about her face struck him deeply. It was familiar, painfully so. "What's your name, little one?" She hesitated, her voice trembling. "Emily," she whispered. The man's expression shifted. He knew that name. He had heard it before. His chest tightened. "Emily," he repeated softly, as if the name itself was a memory. The girl clutched her bag tighter, unsure whether to trust him. But in his eyes, she saw something she hadn't seen in anyone else since her father died: genuine kindness. A warmth that reached into her broken heart. For the first time in days, she didn't feel entirely alone. And she had no idea that this man, the millionaire who had just arrived, would change her life forever.